The storm did not rage. It possessed. It swallowed the night whole, turning the world beyond the farmhouse windows into a churning abyss of wind and lashing rain. Each thunderclap was not a sound, but a physical blow against the old timbers, making the solitary lantern in the main room sway wildly. Its light, oily and insufficient, carved wavering circles of illumination, painting the terrified faces of the huddled families in strokes of shadow and sickly gold. SS Commander Hans was a statue of calm in the chaos. His boots, polished to a gleam that defied the muddy yard outside, made a methodical, clicking sound on the stone floor, metronome counting, down to an unseen catastrophe. He did not shout. His voice, when it came, was a scalpel, cutting through the whimpers and the howl of the gale. The women. These three. Stepped forward. His gloved finger, detached and clinical, pointed. First to Elara, whose fiery hair seemed to dim under the command. She had been the backbone, the one who shared out the meager scraps of hope with a sharp word and a fiercer glance. Next, to Marta, whose hands were still clasped as if in perpetual prayer, her face a mask of serene dread she wore to comfort her younger siblings. Lastly, to Zofia, the watcher, who absorbed everything and gave nothing back, her dark eyes pools of silent calculation. A collective gasp would strangle it in the throats of their families. Elara's father took an involuntary step, only to be barred by the cold, impersonal muzzle of a rifle held by a stone-faced guard. Marta's mother let out a choked sob, muffling it instantly in her shawl as if the sound itself could bring worse retribution. Zofia's grandfather, a man of few words and deep lines, simply closed his eyes, his jaw working. Now, Hans said, the word leaving no room for error, for protest, for life as it was 5 minutes before. The separation was not physical drag, but a psychological dissection. The guards did not need to be rough. The absolute authority in the room did the work. The space between the families and the three girls became a chasm, widened by dread. Elara shot a last, burning look at her parents, a look that promised defiance, not farewell. Marta offered a trembling, ghost of a smile to her siblings, a final piece of fragile comfort. Zofia's gaze swept the room, memorizing every detail, every face. As if filing it away for later, Hans gestured, and they were herded into the adjoining, smaller parlor. The door shut with a finality louder than any thunder. The storm was muted here, a distant fury. The air was cold, stale, smelling of dust and disuse. The only light spilled from under the ill-fitting door and from a single, guttering candle Hans placed on a scarred table. He stood before them, a tall, dark shape against the weak glow, his features unreadable. "You are wondering why you are here," he stated, circling them. The rustle of his greatcoat was the only sound. "It is not for a reason you have done. It is for a reason you are." Elara's chin lifted. "We are nothing to you. You are everything," Hans corrected, his voice chillingly soft. "You are leverage. You are information. You are examples." He stopped in front of Marta, who flinched. "The gentle one. How long do you think your spirit will last, I wonder?" He moved to Zofia. "The quiet one. What secrets do you think your eyes hide?" Finally, he loomed over Elara. "And the fighter. How useful is fire when it can be so easily smothered?" He was playing them, turning them against each other and against themselves without laying a finger. The isolation was complete from their families, from the storm, from any anchor to their former selves. They were specimens under glass. "One of you," Hans mused, leaning back against the table and lighting a cigarette, the flare of the match a tiny, violent explosion in the dimness, knows more about the recent inconveniences to my supplies than you pretend. The poisoned flower, the sabotage truck. A feast, it seems, meant to make my men sick." He blew out a slow stream of smoke. "I will have a name. The one who gives it to me will return to the main room. The others, he let the sentence hang, woven from the thunder outside. The unspoken threat coiled in the space between them, more palpable than the cold. Elara's mind raced, searching for a plan, a weapon, a flaw in his armor. Marta's prayerful hands trembled, her faith in kindness shattering against his impersonal cruelty. Zofia's analytical mind parsed his words, his posture, looking for the truth behind the game. This was the breaking point, not of the storm, but of their souls. The feast had been poisoned, and now the reckoning was served, not on a plate, but in this dank room, under the gaze of a man who saw them not as human, but as instruments of pain and control. The chapter closed not with an action, but with a suspended moment of agonizing choice, the candle flame flickering across three pale, set faces, waiting to see who would break first in the silent, poisoned feast of terror.